Welcome back to my hardcore forever world, where last episode I built this super cozy enchanting building full of books, storage, and life. But for today's episode, I want to work on some fully automatic farms that will give us tons of resources that we'll need for future projects. So let's get started. So yes, that's right, we did fully finish this building last episode with a super cozy interior that I just love. But first, before we begin on the new project for this episode, I need to do a few things. First, I want to enchant some of my gear. The second thing I need to do, which ties to the first one, is actually go to the nether and get some quartz. Not only will I need quartz for this episode, it also give me a good source of XP that's a little faster than the zombie spawner we're using. So first things first, we can grab ourselves a water bucket here and head over to the lava pool we found in episode 1. Or at least, I think it was episode 1. I'm not sure, I'm kind of losing track of what happens in each of these episodes. I know we're only on episode 3, but they kind of blend together at this point. Now you'd think, since I've already been there, I'd have an easier time finding this thing. But I'm definitely struggling a little bit here. Yeah, I didn't think it was this far away, but I guess it was. I think it should be right here. Oh, perfect. There it is. Now that we have our efficiency 4 pickaxe, this should be much faster than the last time we were here. Alright, now that we have the 10 obsidian we need for the portal, we can head back to base and find a nice spot to put it. There is a future build I want to make that would involve the nether portal, but that'll be in quite a few episodes from now. So I think for now we'll just stick it in the basement of our enchanting building. Alright, so I've just cleared out a bit of a space here. And my plan for this is kind of just to have like a creepy kind of basement for this enchanting building, where maybe, you know, the librarian is hiding this portal or something like that. I'm not really sure. I haven't actually designed anything, so I'm kind of just working off the dome here, but we'll see if I can throw something together. I do have a bunch of tuff and cobblestone here, so we'll see what I can do. Alright, so I've just finished up the basement here. I didn't want to go too crazy. I think there already might be too many leaves. But I was kind of going for kind of like an abandoned look down here, you know, like there's a dark secret down at the back there. And so I also really like how it's a little darker down there. You know, how this portal is kind of hidden in the shadows. I do like that feeling a lot. But now it's time we actually light the portal, because obviously there's no point in having a portal if you're not going to light it. Alright, so now that we've got our flint and steel, we can officially light our nether portal. Oh! That looks so cool. Wow, okay, that purple glow is awesome. I didn't think it would have such a large effect with the shaders, but that looks so cool. Oh man, that looks so awesome without the lantern. But unfortunately, I'm not sure if this actually emits light. I can't remember. So it turns out the portal does emit light, so all these blocks are non-spawnable, I believe. They don't look like they should be spawnable, so I think we should be good. And yeah, that just looks so cool. Let me just see what it looks like when you're coming down. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Okay, all right. Well, I did bring some blocks with me. I got a new shield, so I think we're actually going to go into the nether and see if we get a good spawn. If we get a good spawn, I think we'll go around and get some quartz, which obviously we do need for this episode. So let's see how our spawn is. I'm really hoping we're just not above a lava pool. Oh, okay, you know what? That's not too bad at all. Not too bad, I'll take it. It's not super enclosed, so it's a little dangerous maybe, but it seems pretty safe here. All right, I'm very happy with that actually. That's awesome. Let's go. All right, so I think I'm comfortable enough here to just gather some quartz. So I'm gonna go around and just get as much as I can, and hopefully we get a lot of XP from it. Oh yeah, that XP is pretty good. 1 vein, and we went up I think 2 levels from that. That's pretty nice. Oh man, I was trying to get back, but this gas won't leave me alone. Okay, oh, let's go. First try. Wow, that was awesome. Oh yeah, that's right, and you get the music disc now too. Cool. Okay, wow, that went a lot better than I was expecting. I did though find more quartz, so I can't help myself. I have to grab all of this before I leave. Alright, we have returned safely from the nether, for now at least, and look at all of this quartz I got. That is so much quartz, and we are now up to level 36. And when we went in, we were at level 24, which is crazy, because that only took me 10 minutes to mine all of that quartz, so definitely a great way to get XP. So now that we have some XP to enchant with, I want to hopefully get 2 enchantments. The first one is I definitely want an Unbreaking 3 pickaxe. Having this thing without Unbreaking 3 is honestly terrible. It wears out so quick. It's honestly just a pain to repair this thing so often. And as you can tell, I'm fully out of diamonds, so I definitely should probably go mine for some more right away. But anyways, the other enchant I want, I think, is Feather Falling 4, or at least some sort of Feather Falling on the diamond boots, which just greatly increases our survivability, especially if we're building, you know. Like if I were to fall off of that roof there, it would have got me pretty low on health. Maybe not killed me, but like 1 or 2 hearts left. So Feather Falling will definitely be a very important enchant as well. So I'm just going to quickly check what we can get on the boots. Obviously, I can't make a second diamond pickaxe right now since we don't have any more diamonds, but we can still check the boots enchantments in the meantime. Let's see what we get. Unbreaking 3. Okay. Could be worse. I'm going to check all the other armor just in case, but Unbreaking 3 as well. Okay. You know what? I think I'm going to try for this, and hopefully it gives us some other good enchants as well. Depth Strider 3. Well, that wasn't quite what I was hoping for. I think I'm just going to grindstone that because that honestly is not very helpful at all. Okay, everything's Unbreaking 3. I'm just going to re-roll them one more time and hopefully we can get something good. Oh, I didn't even see that. There's a Feather Falling 3 there. And you know what? I think at this point, I'm not going to be too picky. I think I'm going to take this. Fire Protection 2, it's okay. I mean, I will be going to the nether some more, so I guess that definitely helps with that. But for now, I do need a bit more diamonds. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to do a bit more mining and maybe some cave exploring if we can find one. I think I got all the diamonds from the cave we found last episode, so I'll probably have to look for a new cave. Now, before we get started, I want to apologize for something I said in the last episode. I thought diamond veins that you found while strip mining had less diamonds in them. It turns out those are the ones that actually have more, which I guess explains why we found a 12 diamond ore vein last episode. Anyways, now that I've cleared the air with that, let's get to strip mining. Oh, another spawner. Let me deal with these mobs real quick. This is actually perfect. It's a skeleton spawner. Haven't really brought it up before, but one problem I have a lot in this world is my lack of bones or bone meal, especially when I want to grow spruce trees or just grow some long grass on the dirt, right? And so this spawner might come in handy later. It is a little far from the base, but in the future we might be able to make something with this. We could also make a bone meal farm with just cactus, so we'll see if we do use this. So for now, I'll just jot down the coordinates and keep that in mind for later. So I'm back from the mines, and we only got 16 diamonds from that trip. I was hoping for a little bit more. However, at least we have enough to make ourselves a new diamond pickaxe, and hopefully we can get Unbreaking 3 on this and combine it with our current pickaxe and get a nice Unbreaking 3 Fortune 3 pickaxe. So let's head over to our enchanting building and see what we get. Oh, Fortune 3. I mean, it's good. It's just we don't need that. Unfortunately, we already have a Fortune 3 pickaxe. So I think I'll just re-roll this and hopefully we get an Unbreaking 3. Efficiency 4. It's not Unbreaking 3. There's Unbreaking 2, which isn't too bad, to be honest. You know what? I might take the Unbreaking 2. I kind of want to go for the risk, but Unbreaking 2 is pretty good for now, so I think I'll just take this. And now we can combine them. Ooh, only 9 levels. That's actually pretty cheap. But now we should have Unbreaking 2 on our Fortune pickaxe, which will help us a lot when we're going mining. And quickly before I forget, last episode I asked you guys to give your name suggestions for the enchanting building. So I looked through all the suggestions and I think I'm going to go with this one, which says to name it the Enchanting Emporium. Now I really like how this one rolls off the tongue, and I like the alliteration, you know, with the 2 E's at the start. So definitely keep that in mind for your future suggestions. Now that that's done, I want to take a bit of a break and do some terraforming. If you haven't noticed, the land behind the buildings is quite rough. I'm definitely not a fan of it. There's a lot of little holes and caves that I definitely want to cover up, and it's just not as smooth as I would like it to be. So I'm going to take my trusty shovel here and get this area ready for today's project. Well, I was just doing some terraforming and I found this super close to the base. We're literally just in a hole right here. And there's a zombie spawner down here. We've got them cleared out. And man, I wish I knew about this sooner. I spent all that time making a zombie spawner and there was one like 50 blocks from our base. Anyways, I'm just going to leave this for now. There's a chance to come back in the future and do something with it, but I'm honestly not too sure at this point. So we'll just see what happens. Anyways, let's get back to the terraforming. Now, I've never been the biggest terraformer, but I think it turned out great, especially when you compare it to how this area looked before we got started. So now that all the terraforming is done, we can finally get started on the farms for this episode. But first, of course, I'll need to grab some materials. Most of these materials I had laying around the house, but I did have to go mine a bit of diorite and smelt some cobblestone. But once that was done, we could get started on the build. For this build, I essentially went for a smaller version of my house, starting with the classic stone foundation layer that I love to use. I also added this part that sticks out for the door so that it wasn't just a boring stone rectangle. Next up was the supportive structures, where this time I tried using some fence gates as well to make it look a bit sturdier. I then filled in the upper walls with the calcite and diorite mix and slapped on a deep slate roof. The main roof wasn't too complex, but I added these two parts here that jut out that were quite a hassle to get right. Anyways, after filling in the remaining gaps with some support beams and calcite, the basic exterior was done. Alright, well now that we've gathered up all the materials we need for this farm, we can get to work. So I'm sure you're wondering why this space was left empty when I was building the floor. Well, it's because this is actually where the farm's going to go. And so I want to build this one with you guys just to explain how this farm works. So if you guys want to build one yourself, you can do that pretty easily. First things first, I'm just going to put a bunch of hoppers going into that main chest, and this can go all the way to the back wall. And next, on top of these hoppers, I'm going to put a layer of mud, and that mud is where the sugarcane will go. And of course, you need a spot to put the water. And the next step is to place a row of pistons. These will be the things that actually break the sugarcane, and then fill in those gaps as well. And then with the observers, you want to place them facing into that block there, just like that, and then you can remove these blocks. And the last step before planting the sugarcane is just to come behind the observers and place a row of blocks, and then put a redstone dust on each of those blocks. So we can just do a quick test here. If we place a third sugarcane there, the pistons will activate and break the sugarcane, and that sugarcane should fall nicely into this chest here. But just to make sure the sugarcane gets enough light, I'm going to place in a few lanterns. And then I'm going to close off the front of the farm here as well with some glass. Then I'm just going to replace these side blocks here with some stripped spruce, just to make it a bit more appealing. Alright, so that's the first layer done. And yes, I said first layer. I actually designed this building to be tall enough to fit 2 layers of this farm in here. So I'm going to get that done right now. For the OGs that remember, I'm going to do a quick spin and it should be all complete. Perfect, now we're talking. Now we have 2 layers of our fully automatic sugarcane farm. Now that the interior was finished, we can quickly finish up the last few things on the exterior. So I decorated this little window here with some moss and trapdoors, and then also made this other window design that I really like. I'm not sure what it is about it. I think it's a circular shape, but I just love how it looks. And so that was the build fully complete. Okay, well now that I finished the interior, I think we can call this build officially done. And now we can finally move on to the next farm of the episode. But before we start, I just want to put in a few pathways in this area just to get a rough idea of where everything is going to go. Okay, now that I'm done the pathways, I think I can start planning out where I'm going to put the next farm, which will actually be a mud farm. And I'm thinking I'll probably just put it right about here. It's a rather small farm. It'll only be like a 7x7 building anyways, but I think this is kind of the best spot. So I'm going to clear out this grass and get to work on the building. To be honest, this build is a pretty simple one, since the mud farm is just so small that I really didn't need to build anything crazy for it. For the build though, it was just a simple design of the tough mix on the walls with the dark oak and spruce roof. Since it was a mud farm after all, I added some foliage in front to give it a more natural look. Alright, we've got the whole building done, and believe it or not, this does actually fit a mud farm in here. It is quite crazy. It could technically be even smaller, but I wanted a bit of space to walk around the farm. So yeah, it's not a perfect fit, but it definitely works for me. Anyways, I've got all the materials here for the mud farm. I probably won't go through it with you just since it's not actually my design. It's actually the design by Mango, so I'll link that video in the description. And if I tried to explain how the farm works, I'd probably botch it and mess something up. So yeah, I'll get building the farm and I'll see you once that's done. Okay, so now that it's built, we can almost use this farm. The only thing I do need though is a bunch of glass bottles, which I don't currently have. So we'll have to go exploring and just find a beach or a desert so we can mine a bunch of sand. While I was out collecting sand, I spotted a large spruce tree biome, which was perfect since I needed a bunch of mossy cobblestone anyways. Wow, that sure took a while to get all the glass bottles I need for this farm. I kind of imagined that one glass block would give you more than one bottle, but turns out it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so I needed about 16 stacks of sand. Anyways, now that the bottles are done, I just have to stick them into the farm, and then once we put the dirt in this chest, we should be good to go. So how this farm works is you just have to put the dirt into your offhand and place it here and break it with a shovel. And yes, I'm using an iron shovel because if you have a shovel that's insta-mine, the farm will not work. But all you have to do is look here, you hold right click and you break the block. And after a few seconds, it should start turning the dirt into mud and you now have a mud farm. And if you're wondering why the second farm in this episode is a mud farm, I actually need it to make the pathways. So I thought I should do this now, just so I have enough mud to work with throughout the rest of the episode. So now that that farm's done, we can move on to the third farm this episode, which I think will be a cactus farm. And I think I'm just going to put it right in this area right here. It shouldn't take up too much space, so I think this is a good spot right here. So let's get to building. The cactus farm was another rather simple build, but this time using stone with the dark oak and spruce roof. However, I did try to make this one look a bit more interesting, and I think adding this extra section to the front really gave it a unique look. I did also have to mix things up in the interior. Since the building wouldn't actually fit 2 layers of a cactus farm, I had to dig down to create some extra space, which, once filling in the walls, I think ended up looking really cool. Alright, so we've got the area cleared out here and decorated nicely with all the stone. But before we continue, I just want to quickly demonstrate how this farm works. Just like the sugarcane farm, if you guys want to use this design, it's a very popular design. I definitely did not come up with it. So to make a cactus farm, first you need a block on the ground to hold up the sand, and then your cactus will go on that sand obviously. But what actually will break the cactus will be a fence block that's next to it. And so once the cactus grows, it can't grow next to other blocks, so it'll break and fall into a collection system. And that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple farm. But what I'm going to do is put a little water collection system down here and put in about 2 layers of this cactus farm. And that should be pretty good for now. Alright, I think we are done with the cactus farm. I actually don't have enough cactus at the moment to fully fill out this farm, but you can sort of see how this works now. So when one of these cactuses grow, it'll hit that fence and then fall into the water there. And then all of the drops will funnel into here and into this chest. Whoops, there's a few leftover blocks in there, but you get the point. Anyways, now that we have these 3 farms complete, I think they're looking a little bland here. They kind of don't really fit well with these other buildings, so I want to take some time, take a bit of a break from building and just kind of decorate this area and make it look a bit more cohesive. And so what I'm thinking is just come in with some packed mud bricks, and some coarse dirt and kind of just variate this path here. I do want the central path to still be this regular path block, but as we go out, I want it to kind of fade into these other blocks and then of course into the grass block as well. So let's get started on that. Once the paths were done, it was time to fill in some of the extra space with some crop fields, the first of which being a wheat field. To border this field, I designed this natural looking border which I think looks incredible and honestly might be my favorite thing I've made so far. After that, I added a potato field next to the mud farm and added the border for the path as well. Then it was on to the next farm of the episode, a bamboo farm, which will sit nicely on top of this hill here. And to be totally honest, I struggled a lot with this farm, more specifically just the building itself. It ended up not being a super complex build, but it took me forever to come up with a design that I was happy with. That being said, I wanted to make sure this farm looked interesting, since it sat on top of the hill. So I went for a roof design that I thought looked quite unique. But before I could build the actual farm, I had to take a quick trip to the mines, since the first 3 farms completely drained my iron reserves. Thankfully though, it didn't take too long to mine the iron, and I was able to build the bamboo farm. I won't be explaining how this farm works, since it's literally identical to the sugarcane farm, except of course without the water, since bamboo doesn't need water to grow. Alright, so now that we're done the bamboo farm, we can finally get to work on the last farm. Well, technically the last 2 farms, which will be the melon and pumpkin farms. But I'm going to combine them into one building anyways. But first, there's one more material I have to gather, and that is in the nether. So unfortunately for us, we're going to have to go back to the nether and hopefully not die and gather just one more item. Actually, I forgot my shield, so let me go grab that first. Perfect, much better. Anyways, as I was saying, there's one more material we need to get from the nether, and that's just a bit of glowstone. Oh, the nether. I did not miss this place one bit. Alright, so let's just take a stroll around and see if there's any easily accessible glowstone. I'm not seeing any that's super easy to get, but I did bring some extra blocks just in case we had to pillar up and gather it that way. So I think we're going to head over here and try to get that glowstone up there. Alright, here we go. Perfect, that should be good there. And now we can get back home and get out of this terrible place. So I definitely don't like it here, especially being so high up trying to mine some glowstone. Alright, so now that I've gathered up all the materials, I think we're just going to put this farm right here. And for this farm, I think I'm going to do it a little differently. For all the other farms, I built the building first and then the farm inside of it. But this one, I'm going to build the farm first, just because it's almost impossible to place all the pistons and observers in later once the building's done. So I'm just going to start with the farm. Now, I'm thinking it'll kind of connect off of this pathway here. So first things first, I'm going to dig out a space in the ground that I'll need to put the minecart. Just something like that. I didn't want to make it too long to make it look weird, so I shortened it up a little bit. But from here, all you want to do is go in and place your rails and make sure they cover the whole bottom of the hole. And every so often, just make sure you're also putting in powered rails. And now that the rails are in, we can go ahead and place our dirt on top of it. And this is where the melons and pumpkins are going to grow. And I'm just going to use some waterlogged stairs just so the water doesn't flow down or anything. And so now that the dirt is tilled, I'm going to come in and place in some seeds. Unfortunately, I only have 3 melon seeds, so a lot of this will be pumpkin for now. But I will come in later and add more melon seeds just so it evens out a bit. But until then, it will be mostly pumpkin. And so now you can go ahead and place your observers facing into each seed, making sure the red dot is on top. And you want to do this for every single seed of the farm. And so now comes a bit of a tricky part where you need to place pistons facing down. So a little tip is you can just use a trapdoor and crawl under here, and you should be able to place them in pretty easily. And the last step you need to do to complete the farm is just place redstone dust on each of the observers. That should be good. And so now when these are fully grown, every time the seed updates, the observer will detect that and power the piston. So once these are fully grown and a melon or pumpkin fully grows, the observer will detect that and the piston will crush it. And so that's why we have the minecart here, because the hopper minecart will go in and collect all the drops. But speaking of the hopper minecart, we need to now build the unloading station for it. So all you need to do is build up a few blocks and place in your chest, and then put the hopper facing into the chest with a powered rail on top. And so we'll want this to stay powered all the time, but to detect when items are going in to unpower it, we'll put a comparator here facing into a block with a redstone torch on top. And a block on top of that torch, and finally, one piece of redstone dust here. So if we want to do a quick test, we'll put items in the hopper and we'll see it deactivates when we put items in there. And it turns back on when we take the items out. So that's technically the whole farm complete, but it looks really bad, so let's do something about it. And so the design I have in mind is pretty simple. I'm just going to come around and border this with a bit of cobblestone and andesite, and do the same up top. And now that that's done, I'll just come around with some stripped spruce logs. And I should also mention, just to make sure all the pumpkins and melons get enough light, I'm going to put glowstone in each of the corners, and then fill in the rest of the space with glass. Finally, I'm going to come in with some spruce stairs, and a couple trapdoors just to cover up the glowstone a little bit. And for the roof, I just came in with my classic dark oak and spruce design. And that was the main building complete. However, we still have the unloading station to decorate. Okay, so I think that is the melon and pumpkin farm fully done. And as you can see, it's working perfectly in there. And here's the little shed extension that we added to house the unloading station. And it's perfect. You just open the door and the chest is right here for you. So now that this farm is complete, we have officially finished all the farms for this episode. However, I don't want to leave it there. Obviously, there's still a lot of empty space and the builds aren't fully cohesive and fit in nicely with our original builds. So I'm just going to take some time and go around and add all the finishing details to this area. So what I'm thinking is just going around and finishing up all these pathways, finishing up the little crop fields that I added, and maybe adding a few more crop fields over here. So I'll see you again once this whole area is tidied up. Now that the place is done, I'm having so much fun just running through here and just looking at all the detail. It just looks so awesome, and I'm super happy with how this place turned out. And I just love all these little pathways everywhere. It is so nice. Alright, well I think that's all the time we have for today. I just want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode.